Is Devon Lee prepared for the Sekai Taikai? That seems to be a big question going into Cobra Kai Season 6 Part 2, given her actions in the episode Underdogs. There also have been some questions about her quick character shift from Season 5 to Season 6. This is why Devon has changed. Let's talk about criticisms of her character. Did she cheat Kenny out of the Sekai Taikai, other observations, and more. Let's first recap on what we know about Devon so far. Since this is a continuation of my last video, Why Devon Needs a Strong Mentor, I'm only going to recap the events of her arc in Season 6 Part 1. Feel free to skip ahead to avoid the recap, but be warned, you may miss some important details later on in the video. After the brawl at the Cobra Kai dojo, Devon Lee joins Miyagi-Fang but grows concerned about Sam and Tori not being ready for the Sekai Taikai. Although helping her sensei Johnny with his plans to have the girls bond over a slumber party, she is still unsure of his methods. However, she is glad that the girls are not holding back after they have a breakthrough. When it's revealed that only 6 people can represent Miyagi-Do in the Sekai Taikai, Devon tries her best with the challenges Mike Barnes presents, but grows frustrated at the lack of recognition. This is made worse when Johnny tries to interfere on her behalf, and determined to do what she can to win, she sabotages Kenny's chances of winning by putting Mitch's laxatives in his water bottle to qualify as one of the final picks for Miyagi-Do. As the team arrives at the tournament, there are feelings of anger and disappointment when it's revealed that Tori has rejoined Cobra Kai. Let's first talk about my criticisms of the way her character is written. While in the past I've been very minimal about my criticisms of the show and how it's written because I typically trust the writers, this is a first I have to address because of the lack of continuity from one season to the next, specifically when it comes to Devon Lee. I briefly touched on this in the second half of my short video, Did Devon Lee Betray Her Own Morals? But now I'll be able to go into more detail. Now, as I talked about in my first video on Devon, I get why she joined Cobra Kai and stayed with them. With Eagle Fang shut down and Johnny no longer around, though to give him credit, he wanted to interfere a couple times to talk to Devon, she was looking for guidance and found some in Tori. She was corrupted by Kim Da-eun in Cobra Kai briefly, as seen in some deleted scenes, and this is also why she smiled when Mitch was revealed to be Cobra Kai's mole. But 3 things don't add up for me. The first being, if she was so torn on Tori lying about which side she was on the whole time, why help her? I get that it's supposed to imply that she had a change of heart, but I feel like this was done in a rush and could have had a little more emphasis like Hawk's face turn in Season 3. If this was done as intended, that means as a character Devon is easily swayed, which also does make sense as she wanted to learn more from Tori and Cobra Kai at the end of the episode, Ouroboros. The second thing that doesn't make sense though, is why give Mitch a dirty look when he shows up to Miyagi-Do when you both were on the same side in the previous episode? And to also coincide with that, the third question is, if you are that upset at Mitch, why did you feel guilty when you saw Johnny and Hawk, and then end up switching sides from Cobra Kai to Miyagi-Do and Eagle Fang? In my opinion, this is where the writers dropped the ball for Devon. This is sad because what information we've seen so far in the previews for Cobra Kai Season 6 Part 2, she was literally written to lose to Tori, Sam, and then get knocked out of the Sekai Taikai because she either got injured or it's revealed that she sabotaged Kenny's chance. You could apply that logic to characters like Chris, Nate, Bert, and Mitch, but it seemed like they built Devon up strong from the beginning, giving her similar character traits to Johnny. The inconsistencies are a little disappointing considering the many times I praised the continuity and direction the writers have taken. That takes me to my next point. Did Devon cheat in the episode Underdogs? Obviously, the answer to the question is yes, but there have been people commenting on my short that she didn't cheat. So, given the show's past episodes, I'm going to reiterate some facts. Devon knew about the laxatives because after Mitch discussed what the powder was with Anthony, the camera showed Devon shaking her head and then refocusing on her training. One of the main arguments I see people point to is that Mike Barnes said they were on their own and that Johnny said to Devon, use whatever you can with whatever you got. However, given the context, it's clear that Johnny and Mike were alluding to the student's skill set in a fight, as Mike even answered Dimitri's question that if 2 people find a flag at the same time, they should fight for it. Notice that she was watching Kenny to make sure he drank the water she sabotaged, can't believe he's slowing down when they run, and tries to act innocent by smiling with the flag and asking where Kenny is. After Kenny blames Anthony for the incident, she tries to apologize to Kenny for what she did as he walks off, but realizes that no one suspects a thing and gets rid of the evidence before Johnny congratulates her. If she didn't cheat, why does she suddenly look nervous and avoid her sensei by saying her ride's here? And if that wasn't enough reason, remember that in Season 2 Episode 1, Johnny reprimanded both Hawk and Miguel for their unethical methods while he was still the sensei of Cobra Kai, and in Season 4 Episode 7, prepared his students for Cobra Kai's dirty tricks, which was what Devon also thought of during her flashback. So why did Devon cheat? There are a couple of reasons I can think of. The first is either the dislike or jealousy of Kenny. Now, this is before the students begin competing for the spots themselves. When Kenny interrupted Anthony and Devon's conversation at school, she got annoyed very quickly and would roll her eyes. Where this came from, it's hard to say. Maybe Devon was still haunted by the fact that she lost her fight to Sam for the Sekai Taikai qualifier and Kenny won his, though that again would be inconsistent as she was seen happy and congratulating Kenny right after his victory over Hawk. However, we can't rule this out as there is some jealousy during the competition, and this would lead to my second reason. Devon wanted acknowledgement. While she could not match the chicken because she was no match for Kenny's speed, she got frustrated when Kenny was given a thumbs up and when Mike praised him again for the chicken. Although it wasn't shown because she was focused on holding up the rock, it could be implied she was frustrated as she looked to Barnes for acknowledgement and then he simply walked away. After hearing Kenny, Sam, and Tori get praise, Devon complains to Johnny about this, almost sounding entitled, saying that she's fierce too. As we know, this causes Johnny to try to really push Mike to pay attention to Devon, but it backfires for both him and her, as Mike and Johnny get into an argument while Devon loses a flag to Tori, again looking for acknowledgement instead of focusing on the task at hand. Now, for someone who is also training in martial arts, specifically Taekwondo for those of you who tuned into my previous live streams, I get the idea of needing positive reinforcement and instilling self-confidence. However, Devon is not by any means a beginner and should be focused on improving herself, not seeking the validation of others. This may also be why she cheated, to prove that she was worth more to those who would doubt her, for example, Mike Barnes. All of that aside, is she ready for the Sekai Taikai? Mike Barnes may have made the right call when asking Johnny about Devon. She is new to karate, and although she is a quick study like Daniel, she still needs to hone her skills. The fact that she was more concerned about the approval of others rather than the approval of herself could also point to some insecurity. We see some of this on display when Mike Barnes announces the rules of the final challenge to the Final Four, and Devon seems doubtful but decides to continue forward when encouraged by Johnny. Even during the captain's ceremony at the end of Best of the Best, Devon seems unsure and tries to stay focused when they arrive in Barcelona. I do have to agree with Daniel's statement at the end of Underdogs. Hawk should have been the one to go instead of Devon. Maybe it'll be luck that she doesn't get injured and instead is exposed for cheating, but we will know soon enough in part 2. I do want to throw out some other observations of Devon's character because it isn't all bad. She was right to point out to Johnny that something was holding both Tori and Sam back and grew frustrated with his antics during the slumber party. While she was unsure of the argument between the two, she realized it was for the better that they finally put their differences aside and it worked out for the best. Given the deleted scene where she showed a concern for Tori's mother in Season 5, it makes total sense that she was the first to notice something was off with Tori when she showed up late and asked her what was wrong. When Tori announces her mother died, Devon is notably not surprised but sad that it happened, indicating she knew that might be what was plaguing her. If anything, maybe Devon can be the one to talk some sense into Tori in Season 6 Part 2. Here are my final thoughts on Devon and what we can see from her in the future. I hope she makes amends and apologizes to Kenny, as there may be a conflict reignited between him and Anthony. This is one of the things I'm looking forward to most to see how it gets resolved, as we know he comes back to Miyagi-Do in Season 6 Part 2. I still personally would like to see Devon fight a little in the Sekai Taikai, but it looks like she does take a nasty fall in the trailer. The best thing I can say about Devon is to quote Mr. Miyagi, "Never put passion before principle. Even if you win, you lose." Another character I'm looking forward to learning about is Master Kim Sun-young. The innovator of the Way of the Fist, from what little we know about him, it's clear that he lives and breathes the philosophy of no mercy.